returning to the business meeting of the Board of Education of the South Country Central School District on October 8, 2025. We're going to now have a Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm asked to have Trustee Felicetta lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Emergency evacuation proceedings. In case of an emergency, an exit to the outside in an orderly and quick manner. This is a smoke-free and vape-free school district. No smoking or vaping anywhere on district property. We're also a bully-free and hate-free school district. So now we have board consent agenda item C.
Thank you, President Hayes. The administration recommends the approval of board consent items reflected in Schedule C1 through C6.
Is there a motion to approve items C1 through C6? Motion by Trustee Felice, second by Trustee Felicetta. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Approved unanimously. So now we're down to superintendent's report.
A lot of technology. Good evening. So welcome everybody to tonight's board meeting. I'm going to get right to it, to the superintendent's report. I wanted to begin by speaking a little bit about the fact that the school district had incurred expenses exceeding our adopted budget in the previous school year, the 2024-25 school year, and wanted to talk about what we know. First, as we communicated with the community back in September 11th, we know that the 24-25 adopted school budget of $143 million, $57,000, or a little in excess of $143,000 was exceeded, and that has been confirmed by our external auditors. Second, what we know is that on September 9th, the board took immediate action in authorizing the use of a forensic auditor to look into the extent of the overspend. And basically what the forensic auditors are going to be doing, and they were actually approved in tonight's consent agenda, is to investigate how this may have occurred, what categories of expenditures exceed the original budgeted items, and when and how additional expenditures occurred. Obviously, they're going to do a review of the district's internal financial controls and protocols, and they're going to provide recommendations on guidance on any necessary corrective actions that should be put into place to prevent any such issue from happening in the future. So it's sort of an immediate action, and this is above and beyond our external auditors that are still in the process of finalizing our financial statements and auditing the prior school year's budget. We also engaged in an immediate action plan, and this was really driven by the administrative team. So while awaiting guidance from external and forensic auditors, we've been implementing immediate spending controls and additional oversight with support of the New York State Education Department, our auditors, of course, our business officials. We're also going to be developing long-term strategies to strengthen fiscal responsibility and rebuild community trust. So this is something we take, the seriousness that it merits. We've already implemented some discretionary spending controls, which includes some of the following, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the immediate measures that we're taking. First, we want to make sure that we're proactive in our communication. So far, we'll continue updating the community, that's the Board of Education, as well as myself and my administrative teams, anytime things come up. So I know it seems like we've been sort of moving at a slow pace, but typically our external auditors don't finish their audit until mid to late October, when it's presented to our audit committee, which then is presented publicly to the Board of Education and to the public. That audit report, when it's complete, will be public and will be available for everyone to read, and will also be presented at a future board meeting. I will also continue notifying our staff by virtue of my Friday messages and updates, any status updates we have with regard to anything that may be impactful internally to our school district. We're conducting a line-by-line budget review. This is internally, above and beyond our external auditors, above and beyond our forensics auditors, just to get a better understanding of some of those high variance codes. And what we mean by that are budget items that sort of deviated from what we budgeted from during the school year, and trying to get a better understanding how this may have transpired, and trying to identify systemic gaps in our forecasting or predicting budgets for the future years. That's something that's ongoing now. We're changing the manner in which we're going to be providing monthly status reports to the board, so that we have budget to actual what we sort of call budget status reports on a monthly basis, and keeping tighter controls on our spending as the year progresses by instituting sort of guardrails and thresholds that we're going to sort of monitor a lot closer. Because again, we want to sort of prevent this from happening in any future year. In terms of our reduction of discretionary spending, we're looking at all non-mandated sort of programs, certainly things that support our curriculum, and looking to see where we can sort of cut back. Something that came up publicly and among our staff are field trips, for example. If you look at on tonight's agenda, we're approving field trips. We're not eliminating field trips. We're just being a little bit more discriminate on which field trips to approve based upon their connection to curriculum, their connection to our programs, and certainly competitions that our students participate in, whether it's music competitions, art competitions, etc. You know, I'm a big proponent of field trips. I think they really enhance the student experience. But in this year, we're just going to be a lot more mindful of what we approve and be a little bit more discriminate in our discretionary spending. Those are things that may be nice, but are not absolutely necessary for the functioning of the school district. And finally, I want to emphasize that at the current time, we don't anticipate that any of this will have any impact on our core programs or services provided by the district. And I wanted to emphasize that we're still operating as business as usual. There are a lot of great things happening in our school district, and will continue to happen on a day-to-day basis, some of which I want to share at this time. So that concludes sort of my comments about what's been going on. As soon as we have updates and have more information, we'll certainly provide it to the public and obviously to our district staff. But so moving on to some of the things happening in the district over the last couple of weeks since our last board meeting, I had the pleasure of attending our pep rally. It really was a fantastic display of spirit. I want to commend all of our high school students. We had over 1,000 students in our gymnasium, all cheering on our student athletes. One of the things I should have mentioned when I was there at the pep rally was the importance that we celebrate all of our students, artists, academics, people who do the trades, or the military. It's really important that we celebrate each other. But it's really a great kickoff to our fall sports season, and it's really well attended and really well done. So I wish the best of luck to all of our student athletes as they progress through the fall season. This was followed the following day by our football breakfast, which is sponsored by the Booster Club and parents. Every time I attend the football breakfast, it really is remarkable to me to show the support of community. Almost all of our trustees were in attendance for this breakfast just to see how warm it is and how disciplined our football players are. But again, what I love most about it is the fact that it's driven by our parents. They participate. We invited our cheer to this breakfast. And it really was a wonderful event and a great show of community. I also got to attend the homecoming parade, which was a lot of fun. And Trustee Ross actually participated in driving his truck, so I want to give him a shout out. And give him a shout out for salvaging one of the floats that may have had a little mishap at the beginning of the parade, but we were able to rectify that. So thank you, Trustee Ross, for just being there and saving the day. And speaking about the floats, really excited about the students participating in their respective floats. They have different themes. And of course, we brought back our homecoming dance that evening, where we crowned our homecoming queen and King. So I want to congratulate Braden Sip for being voted as the homecoming king, and Megan Mergiolio for being voted as our homecoming queen. So a really great event, a great day of excitement, which was capped, of course, by our football game. Our homecoming game was a huge success. We won the towing cost. I do want to give a shout out to Senator Murray, who participated in the towing cost and gave us a proclamation from his office to celebrating 50 years of Bellport football. The game itself was pretty fantastic, a lot of excitement. I have a photo there of our youth sports running onto the field, and it's great to see like the connection between our youngest students and our senior students who are participating in varsity sports. So it was a great day. Thus far, our football team is 3-1, so we're looking forward to a successful season. And I want to wish success to all of our student athletes and all of our sports. I also want to go over some student accolades that are above and beyond athletics. First and foremost, this year or last year, we had 60 students named as AP Scholars in recognition of their exceptional achievement on the National Advanced Placement exams taken last year. It was actually 61 Bellport High School seniors, so I apologize for that typo, who have earned the AP Scholar Awards. 36 of them were named AP Scholars, 8 earned recognition as an AP Scholar with honor, and 17 earned an AP Scholar with distinction. To differentiate, a scholar is any student that scores a 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. A scholar with honor, he must earn a 3.25 on all AP exams taken, and grades a 3 or higher on 4 or more of those exams. And for a scholar with distinction, they must receive an average score of 3.5 on all AP exams taken, and grades of 4 or higher on 5 or more of those exams. So that really is a pretty remarkable accomplishment. So I just want to give a shout out to our teachers who all paved the way for this student academic success. That's a photo of our 61 actually scholars, AP scholars, and our 34, or 30, I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. In addition to the 61 students who earned the AP Scholars designation, we had 34 students earn national recognition through the College Board National Recognition Program. Basically, the college is used to identify academically competitive, underrepresented students. So the students are among over 280,000 high-performing students to be recognized with the First Generation Recognition Award, Rural and Small Town Recognition Award, and for the first time, the School Recognition Award began. So we want to congratulate all these students who earned this distinction by maintaining a GPA of B+ or higher, and for their outstanding performance on the PSAT in grades 10 or 11. We also had some all-state, all-county, I should say, musician names for the 2025 All-County Music Festival. These students include Sebastian Pistorino, who's the lead trombone, Julius Rodino, drum set, Zachary St. Just, lead trumpet. They're going to be performing with the Skamia Advanced Instrumental Jazz, and many other students that were sort of named and recognized for this distinction. And among the 6, we also had 2 all-state musicians, and that is Julius Rodino and Zachary St. Just. They've been selected to perform in the All-State Festival for the 2025 New York State Music Association Winter Conference. Julius Rodino is a percussionist, and he was selected to play jazz drum set for 2 vocal jazz ensemble and mallet percussion for the wind ensemble. And Zachary St. Just, a trumpeter, was named to the wind ensemble. So this is a great accomplishment. So big shout out to our music staff. Additionally, we had South Country senior named as a merit artist. Bellport High School senior Alana Cornacchiolo earned the Long Island Arts Alliance 2026 Scholar Artist Merit Award in the category of Visual Arts. She'll be featured in the upcoming issue of Newsday, so we want to congratulate her and congratulate all of our fine and performing arts teachers and our academic teachers for paving the way for the student success. It gives me great pride to report on that. I also had the good fortune of being interviewed by students in Ms. Stephanie Factor's class. It was a great interview. They asked a lot of deep questions. I really enjoyed my interactions with the students. This was a set of students that were English language learners who were commanding. So we did the whole interview in English, and they were very sort of eloquent in their questions, and I really enjoyed my time to them. Equally as fun was reading a book at Kramer in Miss Amy Volk's classroom. I read the book in Spanish. She read the book in English. The kids got a big kick out of it. The book was entitled I Hate the Rain. The point of the story was that even when it rains, you can have some fun. So it was great reading to the kids. And a big shout out to Ms. Volk and Ms. Factor for inviting me to their classroom so I can share this great experience. More than that, at our high school yesterday, we had our College Board Testing Day. This is where we provide the opportunity for high school students to challenge the SAT and the PSAT. In all yesterday, we had 183 seniors complete the SAT, which is pretty fantastic. That number has increased from the prior year. 264 sophomores and juniors completed the PSAT. So again, this is going to give them a great opportunity to challenge the test and get some practice. And for our freshmen who are home, we kind of challenged them to have a Clipper Pride Day at home. And what that meant for them was Pride stands for being prepared. So prepare for their futures. We said they should suggest that they complete their career interest inventory and ambiance. That's just a platform we use to help students plan for the future in careers and or college. To be respectful, to go out and say thank you to someone that they care about. Maybe write a letter to someone they respect about how much they appreciate them. To be involved, to get involved in their community, volunteer at a community center, or create or complete a community-based project. To be diligent, to show their hard work and dedication toward their future goals. Maybe shadow someone in their future career field and learn what it takes to work in that field. And finally, to be ethical, which to me is the most important one, to volunteer to help a person. So we're really excited about our College Board Testing Day. I want to thank our guidance department, our high school staff who proctored the exams for the successful administration of the College Board exams. But the academic sort of work doesn't stop there. I'm really pleased to announce and invite our teachers and our administrators to speak about all the work we're doing towards literacy. Last year we showed significant growth in our literacy scores, especially 3 to 5, and so I'm really excited about the work they've done in terms of just looking at our curriculum and our strategies that we use. So at this point, I want to invite Jackie O'Hagan to sort of do a little bit of an introduction, and we're going to get a presentation from our teachers to talk about our approach to literacy. So, okay.
Thank you to the entire Board of Education and our Superintendent, Mr. Santana, for the opportunity for this incredible team right here to present today on our literacy initiatives that we are so passionate about for our South Country students, and some really exciting updates we made to the curriculum. So tonight really is about a celebration. So I want to introduce you to this team. We have Kristen Fair-Thompson, who's here, who is our Director of Humanities. We have our literacy coordinators, K through 5. Kim Goslin is here from Brookhaven Elementary School. Carrie Paolillo from Frank P. Long. Vicki Williams from Kramer Kingdom. And Jen Hayhurst from Burncrest. We also have our incredible K through 5 principals here with us today who've been outstanding with this work and their leadership and their collaboration. So we can't thank you enough for your support of leading your buildings. Ms. Mandy Mazziati of Burncrest, Ms. Stephanie Ursinski of Frank P. Long, Mr. Sean Clark of Kramer Kingdom, and Dr. Rebecca Raymond from Brookhaven Elementary School. Thank you so very much. Okay. So really our objectives for this presentation today is a celebration, like I said before. So in the board meeting, for the next board meeting, I'll be sharing more specific data and how we went up in our ELA scores in every single building, in our elementary buildings and Frank P. Long. So that really was a collaborative effort by this entire team here tonight, and our directors, our chair people, our coordinators, our teachers, everyone. It really was such a collaborative effort. So I'll be sharing in more detail at our next board meeting on our data achievement for ELA scores 3 through 5. This work really is about aligning with the New York State Portrait of a Graduate. What do we want for our students? We want them to be effective communicators. We want them to be critically thinkers. We want them to be global citizens. So all of these things that we really want our South Country students to be before they graduate and when they graduate. We really thought strategically about this literacy curriculum and aligning it with this work. This team has like this urgency and this passion to really increase literacy across K through 12. So what we did was we formed a K through 5 literacy committee. That was last year, and I can't thank them enough because they did outstanding work with literacy and really making sure our curriculum is aligned with the science of reading. And now we brought it up to the secondary level. So now we have a 7th through 12th secondary committee, where it's not only just ELA teachers, it's science teachers, it's social studies teachers, because those assessments are so heavy in text that we want to make sure we're collaborating across all the content areas. So that was another objective. And just really making sure that our literacy, that our students are engaged, that they love reading, that they love writing, and it really starts with our earliest learners. So everything we're kind of thinking about with curriculum is really aligned to this New York State Portrait of a Graduate, and if you see, this is what we want for our students at South Country School District. We are continuing the great work about writing across content areas. We have very engaging professional development in this year that surrounds itself around that. Continuing our work with culturally responsive text that we've done so much in our equity committee on. And really thinking about our students in terms of research and inquiry, and making sure they're effective, they have critical argument skills, they're able to debate. So that's kind of the center of the work that we're doing in our literacy curriculum. And next, I'm going to turn it on to Kristen Fredrickson.
Again, thank you to the Board of Education, thank you to Superintendent Santana for allowing us to present tonight. It really means a lot to me and my team. So the next slide here is going to go over the need for the change in our literacy K through 5 curriculum. And so South Country's response, we had to have a response to the science of reading and the New York State mandates that were put into place. Our rationale was that the Department of Education for New York State is requiring that all school districts must verify their curriculum with an attestation based on the science of reading. So the question that comes along often is, what is an attestation? Basically, it is Education Law 818. Going from that, it's a mandate that on or before September of 2025, which was a deadline that South Country did meet, that every school district must validate curriculum and practice in literacy pre-K through 3. It also must align, our curriculum must also align with the science-based best practices. Once this mandate came out and the requirements were known to us, South Country had several goals. One was to provide professional development using resources from New York State for best instructional literacy practices. Teachers collaborate. One of our goals was to have teachers collaborate to use the documents from the state to make those shifts in. And finally, to revise parts of our current K-5 curriculum to best align with the science of reading and the results of the attestation audit for South Country District. Out of this, we were able to form some action steps, which the district would be taking. The first one would be to form a literacy committee. Ms. O'Hagan already spoke about that. We had elementary going into year 2 now, and now year 1 for secondary. Our elementary teachers on that committee and administrators, pre-K through 6, we met monthly after school beginning in the 2024-25 school year. Also, we were able to review New York State literacy briefs with this committee to build a shared understanding of the New York State K-3 best practice, including using our checklist of tools. These tools were provided by the New York Education Department, and they include the K-3 Literacy Instructional Best Practices Guide and K-3 Literacy Curriculum Guide, as well as the New York State Literacy Attestation, which I mentioned, which was the mandatory annual review aligned to the Commissioner's best practices. These tools can all be accessed by the public alike through the New York State Department of Education website. Our third action step was to have coordinators attend a 3-day ELA Curriculum Writing Institute to write science of reading-based aligned curriculum in revision of our current. This was led by Victor Giacarino, who we continue to work with as a district. He is an expert in the fields of aligning K-12 curriculum and instruction in alignment with the science of reading, state standards, and understanding by design, which was the final piece. In building this curriculum, we wanted to make sure that we were using that framework, which is a foundation to begin revising literacy units aligned to all of those mandated expectations. So out of all the things that we've learned that were coming from the state, we knew that there was a need to make some shifts in our curriculum. And Ms. Williams is going to go over some of that with you. Let's go back to your. Oh, you're right. You're still on this one. All right.
So hi, I'm Vicki Williams, and thank you for having us.
So like Ms. Fair Thompson has mentioned, is that we use the documents from the New York State to be like, okay, what do we currently have, what does our curriculum have, and what is it missing, or what does it need more of, or be more explicit, and this is what we identified when looking at the attestation or the checklist, and then also looking at some of the tools that the state provides. So these are the things that, we may have had a little bit, some of them we didn't really have at all. And then so we needed to identify and really name the things that we needed more work on. So once we had those developed, then we thought about as a team, like, how do we embed those in what we currently are doing? And how do we find ways to build them, expand them, and be responsive, and that's the work that we were doing. So once we had them, this is how it started. So, back last May, we named all the things, but then it was like, okay, we know what the curriculum needs, but how do we then put that across, a unit, a week, kindergarten, 5th grade? How does that look in practice, and how can we give resources to teachers to increase student learning? Thank you for the invitation. Okay, so we needed like a structure. That was the very first thing. So that's what all those post-its were. So like, how will it look across the week? How will it look across the unit? And how do we fit it all inside? The literacy block is a 40-minute block. So how do we put all those missing elements in a systematic, cohesive way? So we recreated our literacy block. We thought about how can we fit those components in. That was the first step. The next step was, okay, what are we going to teach? We are really, the work with Mr. Jaccarino was really about getting back to the standards, and that's what the assessment data was showing, that our curriculum wasn't always clear and explicit about the standards. So we had to revise our curriculum maps and really think about what standards are we hitting, that way we have full coverage, and that we're making sure that, we're hitting across the board and across the grades, starting even with our kindergartners. So we created a curriculum map, which is linked there, that's really vertical and horizontal alignment. It has like the names of the units, what standards are being taught, when and where. So then we knew what we were teaching, the bigger picture. The next step was, okay, how is that going to look day to day? And a lot of the work from the BOCES training with Mr. Jaccarino was that backward by design model. So starting with the goal, like the outcome, and then a little roadmap on how we might get there. And then we wanted to be engaging for kids, and you're going to see lots of examples on how it is in a few minutes. But how do we, how can we be authentic? How are we hitting these standards in ways that kids, even kindergartners through 5th grade, want to be part of? And how is it also developmentally appropriate? So we're aligning those standards, and how do we create those opportunities? And then the next part was, and this was a huge thing that stood out as we were going through the attestation, was the need for that academic vocabulary, and just really exposing students to that high leverage language that they often see in like state testing opportunities. So we built into our lesson ways that students will be exposed to that academic vocabulary starting at an early age. That way it is, I don't know what word I was looking for, but anyway, that way it's embedded across the way, and that it spirals, and again, students are at lower levels are being exposed to high vocabulary. And then the last thing was the assessments. We didn't want to just wait for that once a year, the ELA assessments to show us how we're doing with the standards. They're embedded inside the unit, but again, in a way that doesn't feel like we're over-testing or that's too much, it's authentic, and it gives teachers a good pulse on like what's sticking, what needs to be retaught. So all of these things are embedded inside the curriculum you're going to see some parts of. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jen Hayhurst. I'm the literacy coordinator at Fern Kritz, and I'm here tonight to share with you the research base that informed our locally written curriculum. This project represents the collaboration and expertise of our teachers, and it's something that we are deeply proud of. So tonight, I'll not only show you the research behind our design, but also how it lives in the classrooms every day. Okay, so our work is grounded in the research of John Hattie. John Hattie is one of the leading experts and influential voices in education today. His research helps teachers identify which practices will have the greatest impact on student learning. So he designed this barometer of influence, and the thing that you have to think about when you look at it is anything above a 0.4 effect size, that's a hinge point. 0.4 equals 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. That's pretty good, right? Anything above that has been proven to accelerate student learning. And these are practices that we very intentionally embedded within our curriculum design. All right. So, I'm going to talk to you now about building background knowledge and concept mapping. So, as part of our design with the curriculum, we very intentionally wrote these essential questions that are written to kind of lead children into their learning by giving them all of the background that they need so that everybody's got a fair shot. They're all getting the same access to the same knowledge, right? And we're giving them a device called a concept map. And both of these practices, as you can see from the effect size, are extremely powerful. And what they do, the concept map gives them a vehicle for them to demonstrate their learning and organize their thinking. So I have a little video for you today. This is Nolan. He is from Mrs. DeRosa's second grade classroom. And what Nolan is doing, he's doing something called peer tutoring, which has an effect size of 0.54, where he is demonstrating to his fellow students how to use the concept map to make his comprehension more visible. So on the concept map, you'll see the word characters, you'll see the word feelings, you'll see the word choices, and then underneath, you see lessons learned. All of that has been designed into their unit.
Because they were pretending that they met a dragon and that they were guarded by pirates and they were feeling a magic.
Can you name the characters?
Yeah. So there was Buzz Boy and Fly Guy.
And they were feeling imaginative. How did you know?
Because on the first page of the book, it says that they made a book about them being
Superheroes. Well, could you talk more about your map?
And the lessons that he learned that making and reading books can be
Cool. How did you read?
because at the end of the story they want to read it again.
That's the lesson, right? Now, the wonderful thing about Nolan, and you could see him processing the concept map, right? All the other children in the class, a bunch of them came up and all kind of were able to follow his modeling, right? And talk about their own books, and this is the kind of highly structured, engaging academic talk with the right kind of tool to help them be very successful. And this is an example of knowledge building at our 4-5 level. So Hattie goes in great detail of talking about vocabulary instruction. He calls it programs, but what he really means is that it's a highly predictable and full coverage kind of vocabulary learning that gives children access to the academic language that they need to be successful. So when we wrote our curriculum, we modeled our routine after Isabel Beck. She's one of the most reputable researchers in the area of vocabulary. She's written into our state standards. And what it is basically is it's putting a new word on a known concept. So like you wouldn't say, I feel sad, right? You would say, I feel lonely, because that's more precise. And we'll kind of go into how they learn it with these predictable routines a little later. Okay. So, the cornerstone of our curriculum is academic talk. And at its heart, it really is all about equity. Every day in classrooms K-5, children engage in structured academic conversation where everyone has a voice. We built in ways to support kids with sentence frames and visuals and translanguaging opportunities. This way, students who are learning English can participate fully and confidently. Language learning happens through conversations, not before it. So you can walk into any classroom and hear students respectfully building on each other's idea. And that really is building a culture of inclusion. And finally, by writing this curriculum together, we've built something truly special, very close to my heart. We've built collective efficacy, which Hattie has found to be the single most powerful driver of student achievement, with an effect size of 1.39. Now you remember 0.4, 1 year's growth in 1 year's time, right? So everything you've seen tonight, from the knowledge building to the academic talk, was created right here by our teachers, and it's grounded in evidence-based practices that accelerate learning. And that's something that we can all be very proud of. Thank you for allowing me to share this work with you. Our teachers have created a curriculum that is both research-driven and authentically ours. And that's what makes it powerful for students and sustainable for our district. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's what I was going for, guys.
Well, you did it.
We're just quickly switching out because we had some tech issues before. All right, so hi, I'm Carrie Paolillo,
And hi, I'm Kim Goslin, Literacy Coordinator for Caitlin.
And we would like to take a moment to celebrate some of the highlights of this curriculum. One of our key goals was to honor teachers' feedback by creating a curriculum that brings everything together in one place. When teachers open a unit, all of the materials and resources they need are easily accessible. And this streamlined design allows them to spend more time doing what matters most, which is differentiating instruction to meet the needs of the students that are in front of them. We would like to take you through some of the learning experiences the students have been engaging in with this unit since the beginning of this school year.
Okay, so one of the things we wanted to do is ensure that all the students build really strong research-based foundational literacy skills. So what we've adopted were two programs, both the UFly Foundations program for phonics and the Hegarty Phonemic Awareness program, which are two very highly effective multisensory programs that are aligned with the science of reading. These programs directly support the New York State literacy pillars of both phonemic awareness and phonics. They provide explicit systematic instruction that's both responsive and adaptable to meet our students' diverse learning needs. So really quick, I want to just show you some of this in action. So here's some, I'm just going to show you one of these videos. This is part of the Hegarty routine. And I want to show you some adorable kindergartners in Mrs. Shanley and Mrs. Haseman's class who are working on their phonemic awareness using Hegarty. What I'm going to show you is the compound word segmenting. So this is really early stages of phonemic awareness where kids are taking a bigger word and breaking it apart into bigger parts before they get into, later on, the individual phonemes. What I want you to notice is that how they're using their hand motions, the multisensory approach, and really just the repetition that aids in the student success. So just really quickly.
You say it. Cupcake. Separated. Good, Aria. Pancake. 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 Good, Natalie. Cross it. Pound cake. Pound cake. Pound cake. Sana now.
Okay, that's a little quick example of some fun phonemic awareness. And then another part that we've incorporated for more explicit full coverage phonics instruction at the K2 level is UFI, our UFI Foundation. So in this program, it's very explicit. They do things such as visual drills, which is repetition and repeating for accuracy of individual phonemes and sounds. They have blending drills, where it's basically using word chains to manipulate sounds on the phonics patterns that are being taught, all to help with orthographic mapping. So really quick, I'm going to show you this little video. This is a second grade classroom. This is Hawthorne's class, participating in the blending drill portion of our UFI lesson.
Whack. Now I want to change the w sound in whack to sh. Sophia. Oh, we're not speaking now.
And they come up to the board, their tiles are
And
there,
everyone
and they're
learns that.
manipulating letters and sounds.
Good.
Yeah, so that really helps children with not only identifying the letters and sounds, but manipulating where and what part of the word they go to, which helps support the orthographic mapping, which is a big part of the shift in the science of reading.
So another key pillar of the curriculum is the vocabulary development. This slide shows what students in grades K to 5 experience as they move through the vocabulary routine. This specific one is 4th grade. Students engage in breaking words apart, defining them. In upper grades, we talk about and explore morphology. They hear examples and they repeat the word aloud. We say it, they say it. They are practicing identifying synonyms and antonyms, and then they're checking for understanding. So in grades 3 to 5, teachers are creating classroom resources that help students practice and reinforce the morphological concepts that are introduced and reviewed throughout the unit. So you can see the images on their walls that kids can go to and continue to practice.
And so Ms. Hayhurst spoke a little bit about this too, but another really highly effective instructional practice that we've incorporated and we use both through K through 5 is this use of concept maps, right? So here are some examples that could be seen across the district currently in our classrooms. I want you to notice how they're both authentic and student-driven and very different, right? So right here, this is an E&L classroom. Children were talking about their identity. So here they've built themselves. If in themselves, you can see parts of their identity, and then the teacher now connects that to the books they're reading and the characters and the mirrors they see in themselves with their identity. This is an example of a 3rd grade classroom who is now branching out on this concept of relationships. We're reading Stone Fox. We're talking about how the word identity, culture, collaboration, and belonging come together, and we're connecting it to both our reading in our novel and our own personal lives. And there's some other examples, our dual language classrooms, also with relationships. Here's some more examples of just different ways teachers have embraced this idea of concept mapping and what it looks like in their classrooms. And so the unit was really, that we created for concept maps was to support these instructional practices and to expand them. And so another instructional practice that goes hand in hand are these grand conversations, increasing oral language, right? So now we're connecting our protocols of grand conversations, how kids talk in and around books and other concepts and topics, and connecting it to our concept map. The concept map is that visual piece that helps provide these rich student-driven conversations. These grand conversations become even more powerful when paired with these concept maps and the knowledge building. So here's an example. Currently in our 2nd grade classrooms, this is an example from Warren. He's in Mrs. Hawthorne's 2nd grade classroom. And the standard is really learning about characters' feelings and choices in lessons. Similar example to Mrs. Hayhurst. And how the children connect the characters to the lessons. So they're engaging in a lot of different read-alouds. And this was like a culmination of how they're thinking deeply about how the different books and the characters they've been learning come together to connect the big feelings characters could have and how they handle those feelings. So the extension of this was after Warren was engaged in his whole class conversation, the students were then asked to go back and do a little written response of something that they've learned or connected. And here are some examples from the class of other student writing, so you could see how they were proud, happy, really pointing out the different character feelings and how they connect. And I'm going to show you a little clip about Warren. And what he's doing is he's connecting two characters, Anne from the book My First Day, and Emma from the series Emma Every Day, to apply his own independent thinking about character feelings.
Okay, so tell me about how the two characters are connected.
Because Anne felt happy when he saw his friends going to school, and with Emma saw candy, and she was the same as her.
So what does that say about both of the characters? How are they connected?
Because they're both excited at the end.
At the end.
At the end of the story. So it's really about taking just that idea of character feelings and how it connects across characters, and then also then applying it to oneself.
So one instructional practice we also incorporated was close reading. So during close reading, students engage in rereading a short selection of text. You could see it up there in the corner. That strengthens their fluency, it builds their vocabulary, and it deepens their comprehension. So we see fourth graders in this picture. They're engaging in a rereading to reinforce these skills. They're jotting their observation of how it sounds when someone reads, and they're using a fluency rubric to rate themselves, and they're applying that to what they're learning.
And the rubric is K5, so it's continual that vertical alignment.
And another part of close reading we focus on a lot, especially in the upper grades, is this comprehension. The questions we pose to students, as you can see up there, mirror the format and rigor of the New York State ELA assessment, and they're intentionally embedded throughout the whole unit to provide students with consistent exposure and practice over the course of the year. In this video, unfortunately it's me, you will see students turning and talking to discuss the best answer choice.
Which statement best reveals the relationship between Rob and his mother? Remember we learned the word reveal, right? Was to show something that was hidden. When they ask us a question about revealing about two people, it's usually about their relationship. What does that part reveal about Rob and his mother? So let's look at the answers. Which statement best reveals the relationship between Rob and his mother? A, Rob and his mother like each other. B, even through hard times, Rob's mother motivated him. C, Rob's mother encouraged him to hide his feelings just like his father. And D, Rob was sad that his mother died. Now, check out any answers. Which answer would be the best answer? Turn it on. I want to hear it's the best answer because
Okay, and we're going, in closing, we would like to share some teacher testimonials because we wanted to hear the voices of the people who are doing this in the classroom every day that reflect the significant impact that the student has made on the K-5 student learning within South Country. I'm going to have them up so you can see, but I did want to read one aloud. Oops. The new curriculum is beneficial in helping students build meaningful connections with the content. It encourages greater participation and supports deeper engagement during class activities. A bilingual student in my class that is not yet able to read or write in English or Spanish independently has demonstrated strong engagement and understanding by being able to verbally participate. This has set my student up for success and helped him gain tremendous confidence as a learner.
So in conclusion, on behalf of all of the students and staff and administrators at South Country, we just want to thank you for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed this celebration of the hard work that everybody has put into it to support our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think even for me, I don't really recall my reading instruction as a child. But the ability for all of you, our administrators and our teachers especially, and our students to really break it down to all these little individual components from phonics to the morphology of words. It's pretty fantastic. And again, it's all lays a foundation for critical thinking, because all of our assessments across content areas require pretty proficient literacy skills to understand intent, thematic elements, and almost all of our assessments, including science assessments, you have to sort of justify your claims by citing text. So kids are learning as early as kindergarten how to embrace these skills. So thank you all. I'm really excited to see sort of the results that this will yield. Moving forward, get back to close out my presentation. Just to go on, we do have some community happenings happening. Bellport Unity Day was rescheduled for October 13th, which is Monday. Unfortunately, I think we have a nor'easter coming. Sorry to ruin anybody's mood about the weekend. So we'll see if it's postponed yet again. But right now it's scheduled for October 13th from 12 to 3 p.m. And the high school is also hosting, in commemoration of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a blood drive on Thursday, October 16th. I really do encourage community members to come out and participate. There are always blood shortages in our local blood centers. So come out. That'll be held at the high school on Thursday, October 16th. Again, visit our website. We have updates on different happenings. And of course, please follow all of our various social media handles to keep up with all the great things that are happening in the district. That concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Before you leave,
Yep.
Ms. O'Hagan, and to your entire team, thank you very much for reminding us that there are lots of good things going on in South Country, in spite of everything that we're dealing with right now. And job well done. Really, really spectacular job. We've been talking about our scores for a long time now, and thank you for doing the work that you're doing to put a light on the good work that you're doing, and just a fabulous job, really. It's a spectacular job. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I wanted to say to the superintendent, thank you so much for doing this presentation tonight and bringing in the people who are actually doing the work for the benefit of our children. It reminds us of our focus as a board, which is on the students. And I was really gratified to hear not just the work that went into it, but the note that you ended on with the teacher testimonial about the anecdotal indication of success of what you're doing with regard to the one student who was fully engaged while working on language skills and reading skills. So thank you very much for that uplifting report that was presented tonight.
I just want to say this about, I appreciate your sentiment, but really the credit goes to the teachers. I just want to give an opportunity to our various departments to present to the board and to the community. We do have a lot of great things happening across the district. So I'm hoping to engage in more presentations, create just an awareness of the great work that our teachers are doing, our support staff, and our administrators. So thank you all. I feel reluctant to take any credit for it.
And if I could just mention something to the board president and the superintendent. I think a presentation like this is worthy of an entry on the agenda. For someone who spent a lot of time going back, looking at all of our reports and viewing our past board meetings, if we were to look for this presentation in history, we would not be able to find it because it's not listed on the agenda. Could we put a subsection under your report to say this literacy presentation was made tonight, so that in history, if we were to go back to search for it, we could find it? I think it was worthy of it.
Idea. We'll create a PDF that we can embed in
Yeah, it was worthy of its own entry on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay?
Just a reminder that it would be in the minutes and there could be a reference to it. And are our presentations all posted after they've been shown?
Typically, yes.
So the minutes would link to the presentation?
It would not. I disagree with counsel, who's trying to correct me. If you would just look at the minutes, I look at the minutes, you're not going to find it embedded in the minutes as quickly as you would on the agenda. It was worthy of its own entry on the agenda, and I would respectfully request that it get its own entry on the agenda. And reports like this, presentations like this going forward, it's worthy of its own agenda item.
I agree.
I think we could leave the evening, and I'm sure there's a way through our tech department to get it linked better so
Correct.
that it can be more easily found.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
just want to add one thing. I just want to say, job well done. I was really engrossed by the presentation, the whole thing. I think that curriculum can sometimes, and instruction can seem ambiguous, but to know that it's research-based and you showed it and you really demonstrated that tonight is really commendable. And yeah, our students are really lucky and good job. So thank you so much for that.
And hats off to our principals too, who give them the support that they need. Absolutely. Thank you for your support as well.
Thank you.
So now that we've ended on a very uplifting note, we're moving into trustee and advisory committee reports. But I'm going to start with our ex officio student member because in the past, everything we've heard from you has been interesting and uplifting. So we'll turn it over to Madison Aruda.
To start off, homecoming this weekend was a huge success between the parade, the game, the dance. It was very nice to see community and district participation all throughout. I just want to thank my student council board, all members, for the work that we put in this week. We were at the school till 11 o'clock on Friday, setting up the dance, and everyone had a smile on their face, and thank you to Ms. Hoffman for all the supplies she gave us. Also this week, I had the opportunity to attend the welcome event for student school board members run by NYSBA. Key takeaways from this event was that we need to get more diverse student voices heard, and a way to do that is through surveys and polls. And to piggyback off of that, the student council board had a full meeting last Tuesday, and we discussed starting a student-led committee, which I've talked about with Mr. Santana, at the high school, which would bring issues from the high school to me, which I would give to the board, and we got a list of students that would be involved in it, and me and Ms. Hoffman are very excited and we're really interested to get this group off the ground.
Yeah, we actually scheduled our first meeting, labeling it the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. We scheduled a meeting for Thursday, October, I think it's 15th is the number. So I'm meeting with about 16 students and preparing a little survey for them, but they're gonna, one of the charges I gave both the high school and the middle school was to give me a nice cross-section of students so I could hear student voices from across the board. So I'm excited to meet with students and engage in some real meaningful conversations.
That's all I have today.
Thank you. So, Trustee Felicetta?
Sure, so I had the opportunity to attend the New York State School Board Association mandated training up in Albany last weekend. I was jealous seeing Mr. Ross's picture up there at the parade. I'd rather have been there, obviously. And I did talk to Coach Fabian, and he did give me a rain check for hopefully a future breakfast invite. But it was a pretty informative meeting that I thought was very helpful moving forward as well.
Trustee Ross?
So yeah, I got sucked into homecoming. I don't know if that's what I set out to do on my Friday night, but I certainly got pulled in and enjoyed it. But more so in sort of bringing the teachers back into it, and something that we've all been talking about collectively as a board, which is, what really matters, and that everything has an effect. So that everybody in town, and the news cameras are here tonight because of some of the financial pieces. I hope people realize that that is such a small part and is a little bump in the road compared to what the teachers and what the administrators and what you guys do. And I bring that back around to homecoming because as Superintendent Santana pointed out, we were getting floats together. Well, I watch kids who don't necessarily have the opportunity for shop class the way they do in some other districts and some other places. And those kids wanted to learn how to use the drill gun and how to put the float together. And the fact that they got to put it up, that was the difference. I got to watch, a football breakfast from a place where I sat as a student, where I financially supported and helped put that together. I watched other families in the community when they heard that students and people in the district wanted to redo homecoming. They wanted a dance, that they stepped up and they put their voices, their money, and their effort, whatever they could give, no one being greater than the other, and that they all came together to do that. So I thought that was a really good start for old things can be new again. So I really took that away from the homecoming weekend. That was really like, ugh, what are we gonna do? And we showed up and we're like piecing floats together, and I watched seniors, I watched sophomores hide out in the back courtyard. For you guys that don't know, the back of the high school, there's a courtyard. They were hiding because they wanted that float to be a surprise. They didn't want anybody to be able to take it from them. That takes a little pride as opposed to, let's just throw it together. So I was really optimistic from that. I was also optimistic because there was not one event that somebody was not talking about doing it better next year. Which I bring it back around again to the teachers, is the same thing that your curriculum is trying to do. I can do it a little bit better. We can get their grades a little bit better. So I saw a lot of things kind of come full circle. And despite the problems that we see, I hope there's a lot more optimism, seeing things like this, things like homecoming, and quite frankly, stop complaining about what's there and contribute to the solution and not complain about the problem.
Trustee Calderon?
Sure. So on the 27th, I also had the pleasure of attending the homecoming breakfast. As Trustee Ross explained, it was wonderful to be a part of that and to be a part of such a proud community tradition. It was my first time, and I also realized I was lacking in South Country Central swag, so I needed to get my song, and everyone pointed it out, so we'll never make that mistake again. But really seeing how we empower and celebrate our students through athletics and just being a community was inspiring. I was able to connect with many of the amazing parents who truly put together such a great program and a great day. So a big shout out to them and staff and teachers and everyone who was a part of that great day. I also attended yesterday, October 7th, the first meeting of the Strategic Planning Advisory Committee. We discussed the district's long-term goals and next steps, and it really tied in nicely with the presentation we received today. To hear positive updates, it was just really uplifting. So yeah, I look forward to hearing more presentations about what's going on in the district, and of course look forward to attending more school events this week and this fall. Thank you.
Trustee Felice?
Thank you. Yes, to echo all the compliments of homecoming weekend, I too participated on the breakfast and the game and the parade, and it was a wonderful event, and it always is every year, and wonderful to celebrate in the 50th anniversary of Bellport football. And I just learned that there's going to be a Mayor's Cup for basketball returning this year, so I understand that's in development. Maybe I wasn't supposed to say that yet. No? You didn't hear anything yet? Well, it's on its way. So to be determined, but excited about that coming back. I spent the better part of the last 2 weeks pouring through my notes, pouring through treasurer's reports, trying to see, what I missed over this last year with respect to the financial difficulties that we're experiencing. Because I take my role here very seriously, and I feel like if I miss something, I want to accept responsibility for it. And in going through the treasurer's reports and and the times that I've met with the business office, and the questions that I asked, did I ask the right questions? Did I pursue the right questions? What I could have done better to not miss what happened, and what we can do better as a team. And while I appreciate what Trustee Ross had to say, to focus on the solutions and not the problems, and I love his spirit as a new member on the board. I'm going into my 9th year here, and I feel like I've done a good job so far, but I missed something. And I'm gonna take responsibility for what was missed and make sure I don't do it again. And I can see when I go through all the treasurer's reports that I scoured over, and how I made some meetings with the business office, and some meetings, some treasurer's reports I didn't. And I'm gonna hold the superintendent's office responsible for when those treasurer's reports came late, and they came that day. And I asked that those treasurer's reports be tabled, and that was the wrong thing to do. I should have insisted that they be presented that night, because they were so cumbersome, and not let them wait another meeting or two. I should have insisted that they be presented that night in their entirety, because they are just that important. And not just accept that when I found a negative balance, that it was just accounting. Because we could have done better to pick up what was happening at the time. We could have done a lot better. And some of the issues that were happening at the time that we were putting the last budget together for 25-26. And that's where a lot got missed. And I hold myself responsible for that error. And I will do a better job moving forward. And I'm committed to working with this board to make sure we do a better job. And some of the actions that we took tonight, I'm not 100%, I wasn't 100% in agreement with some of the stipulations that were there. I voiced my opinion, and some of the language got changed, and I appreciate the president for allowing input from all the members of the board. Nothing's gonna be 100%, but we'll get there. But what my advice is to the new members on the board, don't take no for an answer. If your gut is telling you something's not right, and you ask for information, and you don't get it, don't take no for an answer. Because we can do better. And that's my report. Thank you.
Nothing for
Trustee
me.
Puccini?
Nothing for me.
Trustee
I have
DeLillo?
nothing.
No, thank you. Okay, starting with the upbeat things, I'm not gonna repeat the homecoming breakfast, the homecoming game, but I will let you know, I did attend a Vern Critz PTA meeting and was impressed at the enthusiasm of all the participants. It was done on a Zoom call, and I appreciate the principal's input there. But again, it was the atmosphere that was created in that meeting spills over for the benefit of our kids. And they're all looking forward to some good things that are gonna happen. I also went in just for a few minutes at the tail end of the middle school fair on Saturday, and was impressed again with the atmosphere of the kids, the parents, the staff members, and our safety officers who were there. Again, it was a good thing for kids, and something that they thoroughly were enjoying. Ditto comments about the strategic planning meeting, and also just to say that professional development for board members is available through the New York State School Board Association in particular. So building on the mandated training that was mentioned by Trustee Felicetta, Vice President DeLillo and I both sat or participated. It was in a training webinar for board officers last Friday from 8 a.m. till 12:30. So that reinforced some of the things that we all got from our initial mandated training, but I think it's beneficial to have it reinforced on a regular basis, so that we can work better together as a board, work better together with our superintendent, work better knowing what our lanes are so that we stay in them and we do things the right way. Picking up on the language earlier about doing it better next year, doing it better every day. And I appreciate hearing the report from the superintendent, and appreciate that focus on what's going on in our schools for our kids on a daily basis, so that it's not overwhelmed by the budget issues that have had to be dealt with, and we're in the process of continuing to deal with it. So thank you again for the reports. Thank you for the feedback from the students and from the board members. And I think that concludes our committee, trustee and advisory committee reports. And if I could use this, because you've got the big screen and I can read it. Okay. We're in the section of our meeting that's called Public Commentary on Agenda Items. And our standard statement is, individuals wishing to address the board shall sign in with the district clerk. During the public comment period, the board requests each speaker to stand, state their name and address, and proceed with their comments. Only matters related to items listed in the board meeting agenda may be addressed here. For non-agenda items, whenever individuals or groups wish to bring a matter to the attention of the board, they must submit a written request to the superintendent. The public may not discuss topics unrelated to the district, or matters unrelated to the agenda, or matters involving specific individuals. There will be no comments related to specific students or personnel. If anyone has comments regarding specific students or personnel, they may either submit a written statement for consideration by the board and/or the administration, or they can schedule an appointment with the superintendent to review their concerns. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, harassing language, defamatory statements, and threats of violence will not be tolerated. I will be responsible for the orderly conduct of the meeting and will discontinue any presentation which violates this policy. Board members will not respond to public comments at the meeting. The superintendent or I will respond if appropriate in the days following the meeting. Remarks shall be addressed to me, board president. Comments should be as brief as possible, but no longer than 3 minutes, and the district clerk will maintain the 3-minute timer. And do we have any cards other than this one? Okay, we have one card from Karim Odakan.
Can you hear me? Good evening, my name is Karim Odakan. I'm a dad of 2 kids in the district. I live in 19 Chapel in Brookhaven, Hamlet. I'm speaking about what I think is and can my 3 minutes start now, not after the intro? Anyway. I'm talking about what I think is the audit, but I actually emailed the board asking for information about what looks like an audit a consulting contract from an audit, and I didn't get any information. That audit, the consulting firm's name was actually incorrect as of this morning. Intensive Management Group, I assume that's who's doing whatever audit the school is asking for. And I want to talk also about this, this contract in relationship to the school board's and the superintendent's proclamations about transparency surrounding our financial situation in the district. We've known about the recent financial irregularities at least for over a month with no discussion about the magnitude. We have Trustee Felice here talking about things she would have, reflections, but none of this has been shared with the public. And I just want to remind everybody, we're a public school district. This is a public entity. And instead, parents are forced to do FOIL requests to the district regarding what has prompted this, the audited financials that have prompted this investigation, and we've been told that they don't exist, and that we'll get them after the board reviews. FYI, the law says you have to submit these financials to New York State by October 15th, okay? So if the public can't know about this before October 15th, we will go to New York State and we'll find out. This is not transparency. The superintendent talks about a transparency hub online. The President Hayes emails us talking about commitments to transparency. Look at the last board meeting where you discussed this contract. You were afraid to even speak. There was a discussion, and only one trustee out of 7 even said that they would read the audit, whatever, the agenda item out loud to approve $10,000 being spent. You guys are talking about spending public funds to deal with financial irregularities in a public school district, and only one trustee, Trustee Felice, even said, let's speak out loud. And then other trustees, Mr. Ross, you're fighting against this. And our president is on a hot mic to our attorney, which is this weird to anybody that we have an attorney now at our Board of Education meetings, saying that we need to protect the district, and it doesn't look good in terms of, quote, in terms of protecting us and not making any issues. This is not normal. This is not transparency. And I can go on and on. The Board of Education, President Hayes wrote to us saying the district's attorneys reached out to New York State Office of the Comptroller to determine next steps. But then when I ask and I FOIL who they reached out to, there's no actual communication. This is not transparency. This is not okay. And then talk about Intensive Management Group or whatever. This is a firm run by 2 DEA agents. What's going on in our district? It's very upsetting, and we can do better. And the reason I care, all right, is because just a few months ago, this board accessed dozens of teachers and teaching assistants. So when we look at all the great work that our teachers are doing, there is a human cost to our financial mismanagement in this district. Our children suffer.
Your time is completing. Thank you for your comments. Normally, we do not respond, but when there are comments that are made that are inappropriate and inaccurate, there are a couple of comments I will make here. Number one is the interpretation you attributed to my consultation with counsel with regard to a Roberts rules issue. And it had to do with following normal process within a meeting. In normal process in a business meeting, the only resolutions that are read aloud are those that are required by law. We do not normally read aloud any resolutions. And as you will note from tonight, there were some significant steps taken. The resolutions were passed. They're online and they'll be in the minutes. And the normal, and you may not speak from the audience and your time is concluded. So to have you present to the public as if there was anything unusual here is stop interrupting. I'll have to ask you to please restrain yourself. So, with regard to your question about the magnitude, that is forthcoming from our annual audit that is in the final stages of being completed, and we should expect to have a number that can be reported to the public at that point. So that concludes my response. Was there any that the superintendent would like to make?
No, I have no comment.
All right, so we're now going into item F, items for discussion. The New York State School Board Association proposed bylaw amendments and resolutions for this year, but I'm going to turn that over to Vice President DeLillo to lead that.
As part of NYSBA's annual business meeting, there are resolutions put forth to each board to vote on to guide NYSBA's actions and resolution. What we sent out was a listing of the propositions for board members to look at, to see if there's any on there that particularly pertain to our district, or that you felt strongly about, to vote yes for or no for.
So
tomorrow, there will be a Zoom call that I will be part of to discuss some of the resolutions and details, ones that have questions attached to them. The actual voting takes place next Thursday, beginning at 4 o'clock, again via Zoom, with various school boards having a representative on the call.
So you're asking if any board members have any questions about any of the resolutions, or whether there's any position that they think this board should take that differs from the recommendation from the Nassau-Suffolk School Board Association.
Correct. For example, last year, one of the ones that I think every district voted for unanimously was moving capital projects up along in the state's approval process. So again, looking through the resolutions, I didn't see anything that was as strong as that this year, but I wanted to open it to my fellow board members to see if perhaps they have something that is more important to them.
Did anyone pick up anything in particular? For our newest members, I think we can just make the observation that in general, the recommendations by Nassau-Suffolk School Board Association have dealt with issues, and maybe Trustee Puccini.
I guess my question, did we circulate, I don't remember, the resolutions worksheet that Nassau-Suffolk has, did we circulate that to the board?
I thought we did, I thought it was attached.
The only
to
reason
that.
the only reason I say that is because it's a little bit easier to read than this. This is a little like, each page is a resolution where it's a little bit more condensed and compressed than that. That's why I asked, but I'm on the legislative committee, and I don't recall there being any type of lightning rod legislation that's up this year that drew sharp criticism or discussion. I think it was just some wording things, and they really, it seemed to be a pretty normal or benign year.
Anybody else? No question?
Are you participating on that Zoom call
I will
next
be
week?
on,
The 9-hour call?
yes. Armed with my Dunkin' Donuts coffee to keep me going.
May the force be with you.
Well, thank you for both bringing it up, explaining it, and devoting your time tomorrow to see this through.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we now are up to G.
Thank you, President Hayes. The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G5. G1 through G4.
G1 through G4. Is there a motion to approve G1 through G4? Vice President DeLillo, second by Trustee Ross. Questions or discussions? Seeing none, all in favor? It's unanimously approved. And next, H.
Should the superintendent just say the two items, 3 and 4, what was approved, since there was some controversy on that some of those may have been canceled, but they indeed are not?
Yeah, so one of the trips that were approved today was the sixth grade trip to Medieval Times. It's a grade level trip that we do annually, as well as the NISBA All-State Music Festival for our students to compete.
Thank you.
Now,
And Frost Valley's on the business agenda.
So that's a little different. So before we book the trip to Frost Valley for our 7th graders, we have to agree to a contract with the YMCA that runs the camp. Once that contract is approved, and then you'll see an approval for the actual trip.
But Frost Valley is still in the plans, and so the
As is
rumors about it
DC.
being canceled can hopefully go away.
Correct.
and the reason that these field trips are mentioned is because they're either overnight or out of state.
Correct.
Because any local field trips do not come to the board for approval.
Correct.
Okay, so glad to have clarity on that. Item H,
The administration recommends approval of items H1 through H7.
is there a motion to approve? Trustee Falasetta, second by trustee Calderon. Anybody have questions? All in favor? It's unanimously approved. And then I,
Yes. The administration, yes,
hold on just a second. I think,
yeah.
okay.
The administration recommends approval of business items reflected in I1 through I7.
Is there a motion to approve I1 through I7? I1 through I7. Trustee Felicetta, first, and then the second by trustee Ross. Questions or discussions there? Seeing none, all in favor of approving I1 through I7? It's, I think, unanimously approved?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So next is,
The administration recommends approval of business items reflected in I8.
okay. Is there a motion to approve I8? I saw trustee Pacini for the motion, and Vice President DeLillo for the second. Questions or discussions on I8?
Question. Can the superintendent explain why there was a need for such a large transfer at the end of the year?
Sure, so it's a multiple transfer, so basically we program our financial statements for our external auditors. What they do is they engage in sort of what I call like a cleaning process, so anywhere there are surpluses in budget lines, you transfer them to those lines that are negative. Ultimately, in the end, because there was the event where our expenses exceeded our approved budget, there'll still be negative lines in our budget, but as part of the process of ending the year's financial, this is a typical process that's done annually.
Okay. So these transfers affect last year's money.
That is correct.
It is not this year's money.
That is correct.
It does appear that we didn't have the right amount of money listed for certain budgeted positions.
All that will be sort of revealed in our audit,
Okay.
so I don't want to speak in speculation, so, and typically, just to respond to the whole point, the audit is public. So typically, we present our audit in the second workshop meeting in October. This year, we're anticipating either doing that or perhaps the first meeting in November, as soon as they complete the audit. It will be posted on October 15th. We actually submit what's called an ST3 form, which is actually the financials to the state, different form that has different information. That will be submitted on a timely basis, and there are times that I think it's edited depending on the feedback from the state. But as soon as the audit is completed, we'll be able to communicate some more information to our community and staff. And then, like I said, our external auditors will present that information to the audit committee and consequently, subsequently, present that information to the board and to the public.
Yeah. I'll keep it on the positive, but we have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
All right, so we had the motion, it was seconded. Questions were asked. All in favor? Unanimously approved. And next is public commentary. I previously read the statement. All parties in the room heard it, so I have one card. Are there any others? Karim Otakon.
This comment shouldn't be a surprise to anyone on the board. Karim Otakon, 19 Chapel. On the board, I've been emailing, maybe I emailed 5 times the board, and I haven't had a satisfactory response. So I just want to ask, as a parent to the board, why do you not feel the need to actually respond to my concern? In April, towards the end of April, we were told by Superintendent Santana that no dual language teachers would be accessed outside of the coordinator. Days later, we found out that the 6th grade dual language teacher was told they were being accessed. We were told this was due to program evaluation and not budget reasons. I was then referred to a meeting with Assistant Superintendent O'Hagan and Ms. Tetuan about this. And it wasn't clear to any of the parents why the program was changing. We were told that our kids need more Spanish exposure, but then they had less Spanish exposure under this new curriculum. And we were told that this was due to program evaluation. And I see the kind of great program evaluation that goes on in our district. I did a Freedom of Information request to the district for any written program evaluation about the 6th grade dual language program. And I was somewhat, it was a little obnoxious, but I was just given back my emails, plus another email requesting a calendar change for the course calendar. So then I went to the BOE. I emailed you, President Hayes, 5 times, and the rest of the board. Just asking for assistance to understand the evaluations that led to the program cut. And I was told I should go to a future meeting in December. I've been to the meeting in the end of last school year, and I didn't get a satisfactory response. I imagine that when a program is cut, there is some sort of written evaluation. And in fact, that didn't happen. And so is that okay to the Board of Education? It seems very haphazard. So I'm just going to leave it there, but I'm really disappointed. Are these financial mismanagement that goes on in our district has human cost to our students, to our teachers, to our community, and I feel like it's not being taken seriously.
I'm just going to comment briefly. So we are preparing a presentation to discuss our dual language program. Hopefully you have satisfactory answers then. To speak to the 6th grade program, basically the model that we've been using K-5 works for elementary school models because the kids are basically with one teacher. There's 2 teachers in dual language. The model isn't really effective in secondary schools. So what we did was we gave those students targeted instruction in Spanish for a full period every day. So instead of having their ELA split into 2 periods, those kids in the dual language program have English instruction, like typical students have, but they also have Spanish instruction, which is taught in the same manner that English instruction is taught, because they're at a certain level. It's not a level 1 Spanish class. So we felt that that was going to be a more effective way of delivering the information. More information is forthcoming in our presentation in December.
Is there any written evaluation of these programs?
You may not. No outbursts from the
It's not
audience
outbursts, and
are
I've been emailing you
tolerated
5
in this
times.
meeting. So, are there any closing remarks by board members? None. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Vice President DeLillo, second by Trustee Felice. All in favor of adjournment? It's unanimously approved.